everybody, welcome back to Kruse Control. It is January 23rd, 2023. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Kruse Control, the home of entertainment news. I am your host, Brian Kruse, back here again. Thank you for being here again tonight. It means a lot to us. And joining me again, as always, is Miss Sabrina Vittori. Sabrina, welcome back to the program. Welcome to Kruse Control. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
How's your day been?
So far, so good. No complaints.
Yeah? You having a good Monday or a bad Monday?
Well, my car is working again, so I'm super excited about that. And I was
Always
able
a
to
positive.
get to it from work with no problems. So I'm feeling like it's a good Monday for sure.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy you're here. You made it, even though we're all virtual, so that's easy to make it, I guess. But you're home, so that's good. And joining us for the very first time on Kruse Control is Miss Lexi Covill. Lexi, welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining Sabrina and myself tonight. It means a lot. Happy to see you here on Kruse Control for the very first time.
It's a pleasure. I'm really happy to work with you again.
Yeah, I did Lexi's podcast before, Three Deemers. It's been a little bit, but we talked about a lot of horror movies. It was a lot of fun. Sabrina watched some of them too as I was going through. We were talking about that before on the show. The Beware of the Blob theme song, it always comes up now in the household. So if you haven't heard it, just say, Alexa, play Beware of the Blob theme song. Just do it right now. Or maybe she'll start playing it because I said that right now.
She almost did. She was blue for a second. I was like, don't do it.
I was worried about that. Mine's like right next to me, and I'm just like, oh, don't do that.
Oh, no, don't do it. I know Jimmy Kimmel would have fun doing that all the time and make people's Alexa start playing stuff. So I'm trying to do that, but if it happened, everybody, you'll enjoy the song. So, Alexi, tell us about yourself a little bit. Tell us what you've been doing, what you're up to, and what kind of projects you're working on right now.
I am a co-host on Cinema d'Amore. It's a podcast about film. This one is unlike my old podcast that you were on. The old podcast that you were on was the Three Deemers, if anybody's interested in checking that out.
Check it out.
That was a podcast specifically about film remakes, because I was like, just wouldn't stop thinking about film remakes. So I was like, I think this is a good topic to have a whole show about, but it could be very draining. It could be very hard on you to like have to watch, as you went through a month of it yourself, 3 of the same movie or 5 of the same movie or what have you. You watch a lot more films. So going over to Cinema d'Amore, we focus more on just all of film. And we spent the whole year this year discussing directors. And we finished our director month with first-time directors, so people who only directed one movie one time in their entire careers. So that's a really interesting month. And now that I'm a more permanent part of that show, we're going into what they're considering their season 2, the next evolution of the show. And so we are starting a new month with just movies that we wanted to talk about. So we all picked our own movie, and we got to cover The Whale. That was one of our movies that we covered. And
everyone's talking about that these days.
Hard movie to sit through initially, but if you listen to the episode and the discussion that we had, it was a really deep episode, and there was a lot of personal stuff that came out in it. And I think that movie's really good at like triggering those personal thoughts and feelings more so than a lot of like popcorn movies and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of fun with that. And we finished with Bullet Ballet, which is a crazy Japanese film. So. And then next month, we're going into talking about YouTube. So we're going to spend a whole month talking about films made by YouTubers. And that's my fault. I'm forcing this upon them because I think there's a bigger discussion there. I think it's a topic that people don't think about a lot, especially film people, and where we're older people who talk about film, because I think the youngest is like 35, something like that. So we're all from a different generation. And by being from that different generation, we don't always have...
It's a good generation.
Oh, fantastic. But we don't always have a grasp on like what the new mediums are and how the new mediums are working and stuff. So I think it's an opportunity to look into that and see kind of the future of entertainment as a whole in film, and if YouTubers are the future of filmmaking at all. So, and then I also make bad art.
Look at us right now. You make bad art too? Oh, come on. It's got to be. I've seen some of your art. It's pretty great.
Well, it's lowbrow art, so it's an interesting style. That's something I've just been experimenting with, and so I try to write. I try to come up with ideas. I have a background in film, television, that kind of stuff. So
you did a lot of special effects stuff too, right?
I went to school for special effects, yeah. Special makeup effects specifically. I don't do any like VFX or anything like that, so it's all practical. I do
Which is
a mean
amazing.
zombie. My specialty, no joke, is damage. I'm really good at like bruises, burns. I could do contusions really well. Any kind of like broken bone damage, that kind of stuff is really more my specialty. I'm not so good with the beauty makeup, even though I'm trying to get back into it. I can do it on other people, but I suck at doing it on myself. I had that reversal, you know. Instead of starting out doing my own makeup, I started out doing other people's, and then it's like try to do your own, and I'm like, ah.
It's easier though, isn't it? I know Sabrina does makeup on me once in a while too. We're doing like
Yeah.
bruises and stuff for like short films or projects, and she'll test it on me. And
For sure.
you know, it's better to have someone to kind of do it on, because then you can actually see how it fits someone's skin, and you can kind of work with them hands on. It's a whole different experience than working with yourself. So
Right.
it's great you do it that way. That's
It's
amazing.
a lot of fun, yeah.
And I'm happy that you're still doing more podcasts. Three Deemers was a lot of fun. If
Yeah.
anybody's had a chance to go back and watch that, it's just fun conversations about old cinema that a lot of people don't even know that there were so many remakes. And Cinema
Yeah.
D'Amore sounds like amazing. I'm gonna have to get back on there and listen to some more stuff, because it's great that you're working with this and you're kind of showcasing. Now, is it only just newer stuff, or is it older movies too that you're
No.
going back and looking at? It's everything, right?
Well, like I said, we spent the whole month covering directors. So, like, one month we did Spike Lee. We also did Wes Anderson and then Neil Blomkamp and not Cronenberg, Soderbergh. Soderbergh we did.
Oh, nice.
So we spent like a lot of like. I picked my Harmony Korine, so that was a really interesting month because he's an unconventional director, that kind of thing. So we really were all over the place with our choices, but it was a nice mix. It was a nice, diverse mix, and it gave us a lot of opportunity to pick films from those directors and talk about it. And I don't mean to be, I wouldn't say I'm negative, but I have a hard time with a lot of modern film and a lot of that kind of stuff like that. And sometimes it's nice to go back and have those moments where you can look at an old director's work and have that appreciation. And I feel like being on Cinema D'Amore has really given me an opportunity to get back to that place in film, because like I said, as much as I love Three Deemers, that much of just bad film, like it puts a bad taste in your mouth too. And I was laughing, I said me and Jacob were down here wallowing in the trenches, like picking up piles of like turds and going, look at this, let's do this one. And they were up on the hill eating fine dining, and I'm like, I want to go hang out with them for a while. So,
That sounds like a great place.
Right.
And Jacob actually just commented. He said your makeup looks great tonight.
Thanks. I tried.
Jacob Rowland, everybody in the comments. Jacob, good to see you here tonight. Thanks for joining us on Kruse Control. That's amazing that you're doing all this and going through different genres and different directors. It's a lot of fun. And honestly, everybody out there has to check this out, because Lexi is an amazing host. She's fantastic. Like, you'll take on a lot of journeys with her that will be like, this is amazing. I'm so happy I listened. This is great. This is fantastic. So do it now, everybody. Check it out. You have to. You're gonna love it. Trust me, you're gonna love it. Sabrina, can you take over and ask Lexi for one quick question? I have one problem I have to deal with right now.
Yeah, no problem. So Lexi, is it every month you have a different theme?
Every month we have a different theme, yeah. And then 3 episodes a month. We were doing 4. If we cover a larger franchise, like let's say we did Fast and the Furious or something like that, then it would go
Extend
until
it.
it's done, that kind of thing,
Right.
or what have you. And we probably wouldn't break it up as much. And if you look at our this month for Halloween, where we covered Wes Craven, we did 4 Wes Craven films and then also covered Halloween Ends, because previous to
nice.
my being on the show, Halloween was their anniversary episode. And so they
Oh,
made sure to
nice.
cover every single Halloween film. And when the new ones came out, they were very good at covering them the minute they dropped, kind of thing. So when Ends came,
That's awesome.
we had to cover that as soon as it dropped. We got it like pretty much 3 days after it came out and had the episode out on Halloween specifically. So
Very nice.
That's
that pretty
hard to
much
do.
ended that. So now we have to find a new tradition for like the anniversary episodes and stuff. So
I believe you'll
I'm
find
sure it won't be
something.
too hard to
That's
find.
fun.
yeah, it's not hard. No.
It'll find itself.
Exactly.
Everyone, please check this out. We're going to talk to Lexi some more about her program towards the end of the show, but we have to get into some stuff. So, Lexi, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. But now it's time for some breaking news. All right, everybody. Quick, just off the top here, I want to give an update on Jeremey Renner. Now, Jeremey Renner, we were talking about before, was in this really bad accident. He was run over by a snowcat, if you will. He was helping his friend, and he was in the hospital since the beginning of the year. Well, Jeremy's home, as we said before. Well, apparently he broke 32 bones in his body. Yikes. Now, he says that he's going to come back and it's going to be fine, but he said that these 30-plus bones will mend, grow stronger, just like the love and bond with family and friends deepens. And he sent out love and blessings to everybody for all the support. But 30 bones, I can't even imagine being in that kind of situation where it's just starting over again. He's got to learn how to walk again. They were saying 2 years it's going to take, but he's in high spirits, and his friends are texting him on Twitter and stuff, and they're joking about how it's taking, he'll come back, and they're joking about his injuries now. I think it was Chris Evans was talking about how, how is the snowcat? Does the snowcat need gas? And Jeremy's like, she's fine. So they're having fun, and he seems like he's in high spirits, so hopefully he comes back stronger than ever and ready to come back to some more Avengers, hopefully. We'll see what happens. Now we're going to get into some more stuff where we're actually talk about a lot of different topics coming up in the news. We're getting some big discussions right now. The first one I want to talk about, though, is Pamela Anderson. Now you say Pamela Anderson, well, is it about Pam and Tommy? No, it's not about that. We're talking about Pamela Anderson back when she was 23 years old. She actually said, now here we go, scandalous time, guys, that Tim Allen on the set of Home Improvement flashed his penis at her. Yep. That's what he said. That's what she said, that he flashed his penis at her. And everyone know that Home Improvement was marked as one of her biggest career credits in the very beginning of her career, where she played Lisa, the Tool Girl, and it became like #1 TV show of all time. But, he says that didn't happen. She says it did happen. Here's exactly what Pamela had to say about the situation that went down on Home Improvement.
On the first day of filming, I walked out of my dressing room and Tim was in the hallway in his robe. He opened his robe and flashed me quickly, completely naked underneath. He said it was only fair because he had seen me naked. Now we're even. I laughed uncomfortably. Alan stated, no, it never happened. I would never do such a thing.
Yeah. So that's what he said. And this is supposed to be for her, her book coming out. So she's trying to sell her memoir. And this is something that came out that Tim Allen's like, no, it didn't happen. Sabrina, you hear this. What do you think? Do you think this is just like old news? We shouldn't be talking about this. Like, why is Pamela bringing this up now? Or do you think that this is relevant and it might actually affect Tim Allen's career?
I mean, honestly, I don't think it will affect his career. I don't know why she would even put that in there. I mean, even if it did happen, I grew up in New York. I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen a penis on a subway. Like, people just walk around with a trench coat and fucking open it up and show you their dick. I'm not traumatized by it. It didn't bother me. I mean, sometimes I'm like, whoa, buddy, let's keep that away from me. Thank you. If it's too close. But like, if someone was walking down a hallway and, open their robe and close their robe, I mean, it's nothing that would traumatize a person, especially, a Pamela Anderson type. I mean, she takes off her clothes and poses for Playboy. I mean, look at these pictures, and she's gorgeous and, good for her. But like, I don't think something like that would traumatize her. So I don't really even see why she would put that in the book in the first place. Although if he did do it, it is inappropriate and he should not, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that it's something that is traumatizing or like in that whole like Me Too category, which I think it's interesting to note that she did say, like, when the Me Too movement started happening and stuff, that she said that this modern feminism is paralyzing men in the industry and in life. So she was very much sticking up for the male side of things. So it just doesn't make sense to me why she put it in there in the first place. If it even did happen, which I'm not saying that it did.
Yeah, but I could kind of see it happening, though. I could see him be like, ho, 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 doing that afterwards, which is just insane. But like, I could kind of see it. And he was like in his mid-30s, they were talking about the whole Playboy thing. They know she was in Playboy.
Yeah,
but
why would you be naked? Why would you be naked in a hallway? Like, you've worked on a million shows that you've gone to wardrobe.
It's a very valid question.
Do you ever not have underwear on? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a very strange statement.
It's weird.
Yeah, maybe he was just got out of the shower. He had, tool-man shower. I don't know.
That doesn't even. It's weird.
Tim Allen has a notorious reputation throughout his career anyway. It's not like he's ever had like a shining reputation, and this is a shocking thing to hear from him. I'm like, the guy's been arrested. He's had all kinds of controversies. This isn't the first time. The fact that we're questioning if it's going to hurt his career, he's a legacy actor. His career is like at its end. He's like, what's in his 60s? something like
Yeah,
that.
now he's sold as Santa Claus.
Right. So it's just like, I mean, it's not going to affect him, but I mean, with the current climate, I think it's worth bringing up or discussing. But I don't think anything's going to come of it, especially with a legacy comedian like that. These old comedians aren't affected by any of this stuff. I mean, Louis C.K. is finding a way to have a comeback with his career, and I don't really necessarily think he deserves a comeback with his career. And watching like Dave Chappelle sit around and talk about trans people all day is really frustrating. And so he's just another one of those. Like, he's just, it is what it is, and there's not a whole lot you're really going to be able to do about it, kind of thing. And it really comes down to, it's more of that battle of like the old climate versus the new climate, and can the new climate possibly affect the old climate's actors? And I don't really see it happening as much as it could or should in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it seems like it'll blow over and this won't be a big deal for him, because I can't even imagine. Do you think Disney would, now Lexi, do you think that Disney would actually cancel his contracts over something like this? Or do you, because it happened before where Disney stepped out and they fired people based off comments. Do you think Tim Allen would be a person like that they would actually fire?
They haven't in the past, like I said. Like, it's one of those things. The guy's always had a reputation. Like, I like Tim Allen. I'm a huge Home Improvement fan, but I've always known like he's not the best person, and he's got a bad reputation, and it ain't gonna hurt it. This isn't gonna do anything to it. I don't know how Disney feels, but I mean, they work with a lot. The only time that they ever really like fire somebody is if it just gets like way out of hand. If it gets too far, it gets too out of hand, and they know that there's a PR thing coming, then they'll deal with it. But for the most part, they cater to, China. They cater to all these different climates and stuff like that. I don't see them caring about it unless everyone else starts to care about it and make a bigger thing of it. Totally. And because it's Pamela Anderson, as you said, like, you're not wrong in the sense that she's built her career around porn or pornographic sort of content or being a sex object or that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that people can disrespect you or treat you poorly or talk down to you in any kind of way.
No,
or show you
not
your
at all.
penis
That's not
randomly.
what I'm saying.
Like, no, I get that.
I'm just saying, I don't think that she would be affected by seeing a penis like from far away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like I said, in the subway in New York, you get flashed all the time. Like, it's not great. I don't love it, but it's not like it's gonna scar me emotionally, and like I need to like let my trauma out by talking about it. Like, it's incidental to me anyway.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, and the fact, like, we're saying, like, she has probably seen quite a bit of dick in her lifetime. So,
I was not even saying that, by the way.
I will say it. I will say it. So, I mean, she probably wouldn't be shocked, you wouldn't think, by Tim Allen doing this. But then again, it's a professional environment. She's young. It's the beginning of her career. She's 23 years old. She's probably super excited about being on Home Improvement. Maybe it would be something that'll leave an impression on her where she just hasn't talked about it till now. Now, will there be ramifications? Probably not. You're right. There probably won't be anything. Tim Allen will probably keep going. I know he signed on for another season of the Santa Claus show. Disney, they'll probably bring him back as Buzz Lightyear before you know it. So I think it'll just blow over, but it's still one of those things that I was surprised when I saw in the news that she actually talked about it and brought this up. And this was a quotable thing from her memoir. Out of her whole career, this is like the one thing you're bringing up that's like really getting traction. It's very odd to me. And I don't know if I believe, I guess I could believe it, but it just seems weird to me. The whole thing seems odd. Okay, so we have one belief. Sabrina, do you believe it then?
I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I don't see why she would lie about something like that, but it also seems weird working on set. Like, why would he be walking down the hallway with no underwear on? Like, even if he's coming from wardrobe, like, you don't go to wardrobe with your dick swinging. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not saying that he didn't do it. Maybe he purposely did it that way. Maybe he did it just to flash her. I don't know.
I told you that,
Rachel says that she thinks it's more of like a power dynamic rather than the body part itself. And, I totally, I get that. I get that point of view 100%. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Well, I guess we'll see what comes from this. If anything comes from this, like, really, who knows? I think we're kind of in consent here that we'll think that it'll just blow over, but we'll see. Everybody, you let us know. Let us know what you think. It's about you. Give us some comments, some questions about it, and we'll talk about it more maybe on the future. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens with this. I'm thinking it's going to blow over, but we're going to move on to our next topic because we're going to keep this ship going. And next I want to talk about.
Keeping it PG.
Keeping it PG. Well, we don't always keep it PG.
I know, it's
We're
just
talking
very
about Doom
funny
Patrol.
comments.
What do you say? I didn't see it.
He said, "Fuck him and that Santa shit."
Oh, yeah. Some people love it. Some people hate it. There you go. Santa Claus. Disney Plus streaming now. Anyways, we're talking about Doom Patrol now. So there's kind of a little talk about Doom Patrol. Will it move forward, or will this be the last of the whole show with season 5? Now, we know Warner Brothers has been canceling a lot of shows due to the whole transition with the WB and the DC stuff and James Gunn, as we've talked about in the program. But the showrunner, Jeremy Carver, even said that as long as there's a good story going forward, then they want to keep going with the show. But I don't know, because Diane Guerrero, who plays Jane, Crazy Jane in the show, she actually reshared a video. And this is, again, one of those things that we see on Instagram and social media and all that. Someone shares something in comments and, oh, it's got to be the truth. Well, we don't know this for sure, but Crazy Jane Diane took a montage, a video montage, retweeted it, and said, "Goodbye, my beloved." And it was a whole thing with a montage of her character, Crazy Jane. So does that mean that the show's done? Does she have some inside information? I mean, we've only had like half of season 4 that's come out. The other half will be coming out at some time. We don't know when. They haven't really released a date for that. So who knows when that's happening. They said later this year. So I don't know if that tweet means the show is done or not. But I will tell you this, watching season 4 4A, I feel like it's kind of going downhill this season. I really love the show most of the time. And this, I'm like, what's happening? Where are we going with this? And part of me is like, unless James Gunn steps in and makes this next season better, I think it's done. I want to start with Lexi here. So Lexi, you told me you watched the show. What do you think about season 4A? And do you think there's any kind of truth to this, that the show might be done after this season?
Well, Doom Patrol is an interesting show in that it started the Renaissance in a lot of ways. This was where Brendan Fraser kind of came back to television and whatever, and it was a great moment, and he's great in the show, and I love watching him play the NASCAR guy and all that kind of stuff. I don't like the Jane character at all. I can't stand her. I think she's one of the weakest links in the show, and they've built a lot around her. I love the actress, the old actress turns into the Blob and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of great characters in this show that are very poorly utilized, and there's a lot of really good things going on. Like, I love Danny, the city that was now an ambulance, and like, I mean, if you're familiar with the Doom Patrol comics, which I'm a big DC fan, so I follow DC content really, really closely, and Doom Patrol is an interesting comic, and they've done some stuff in this show that isn't very Doom Patrol, like adding Cyborg into the mix. And I'm not a fan of the character Cyborg, but the show has done an amazing job with this Cyborg. This is the best Cyborg in the DC universe, hands down. The one in the film is garbage. This one has it. This is exactly what I want and expect from a Cyborg. And I'm so on board for it. But, like, they needed Beast Boy. Like, Beast Boy is, if they're going to bring a Teen Titans member in, they may as well bring in the one. I mean, he literally wears a Doom Patrol uniform. That's his uniform. So I don't know why he's not on the show. And so they made a lot of strange choices. They made a lot of strange directional choices and all that kind of stuff. I mean, soundtrack done by Clint Mansell, beautifully shot.
Who's amazing.
Costuming, really great starts and ends to seasons, really weak middles. Every season to me from the get-go has had a weak middle. And there's a point in the show where it always starts kind of dragging a little bit, but then it always comes back around and pulls you back into it. So I'm always like here for it. I'm like, oh, new season, I'm going to be down for. I'm going to watch it, and I'm always going to give it, some time. And the show's had a lot of struggles. I mean, it started out on DC's streaming service that was its own solo thing. Then it went to HBO, and now HBO is going through its purge, and so it's sitting in that like will they, won't they area, and it's not exactly fair to it. I think that maybe if you could finish this season, because I agree with you. So far, the start of season 4, weak. But there's plenty there that they're going into that I feel like you could push and develop into something really interesting. But I feel like the show's hyper-focus is on the weaker points. And the fact that it's so hyper-focused on the weaker points, that eventually the show is going to collapse in on itself in a lot of ways. And if you could find a way to balance... I'd like to see more time with the bandage guy. I can't think of the character's name, but they don't do enough with him, and when they do stuff with him, it's not
Negative Man or Larry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Larry, that's it. He's great. He's a great character, but he's poorly utilized. Throughout the entire series from start to finish, he's been poorly utilized. So it's just like, but then they've done a wonderful job growing Rita. Like Rita's
Oh,
growth
Rita's
in that show
amazing
is
at it.
one
She's
of
one
the
of the
best
best parts of
characters
it.
in it, and Clint
Yeah.
has wonderful, beautiful growth as a character. Clint's story is one of the most interesting stories in the entire show. I was saying, I could watch an entire show just about Clint.
I could
Like,
too.
I
Yeah,
would love
Brendan
to see
Fraser's
more time
awesome.
with him in the NASCAR moments. I want to see more time with him trying to develop his family dynamics, struggling with his body. Like, there's so much more interesting there. And even the character Jane, as much as I don't like her, I feel like her story's too complicated to be a character in a show with 5 other really interesting characters because she has 13 people living in her. So she's got to like
It's a lot. It's a lot to
constantly go through
balance.
all these different characters and all these different character dynamics, and I'm like, she's a whole show in and of herself. So why, if you really wanted to, you could push the dynamics of this, and but it's just not popular enough. It's not like it's The Walking Dead over here where we're gonna get like
Yeah.
16 spin-offs of it or something like
And
that.
that's the
So,
biggest thing about this, though, Lexi. Like, I feel like all the characters, and Sabrina, if I've talked about this before, like, characters are so great, and the actors that portray them are amazing. And
Yeah.
that's the problem. I feel like the storyline's going downhill. I feel like they're not writing the best storyline for these characters. The actors are giving it their all. I love all of them, like especially like Rita. Like you were saying, Rita's amazing. I love that Brendan Fraser actually gives credit to the guy who's in the robot suit, the robot
absolutely.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that he's giving the other actor credit. The guy's name's why am I thinking about it? Riley Shanahan. Yeah. So he's giving Riley props, which is great because a lot of people don't do that. You know, they do the voiceover, and that's all me. Look at the Mandalorian. You have that problem with Disney we talked about before, not giving props to the Mandalorian guys.
Being a guy in a suit's really hard.
It's tough.
It's one of those things where a lot of times they go, Brendan Fraser is, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm a voice. I don't wear this. And the
which
guy
is
who's
amazing
on
he does that.
screen is emoting through the suit. So you're physically emoting through a suit that has no physical emotional abilities. So the fact that they're able to portray so many emotions through Clint between Brendan Fraser's vocal performance and the actor who's in the suit, they absolutely both deserve credit. And everybody should be doing that when they work with people in suits and stuff like that.
They 100% should. They should do it more and more and more. And the fact they don't is very unfortunate. It's like those people are actors too. They're portraying a lot with the character physically that the other actors not. Sabrina, what do you think? Do you think that there'll be another season of Doom Patrol, or do you think that that these characters are great, but it's just not going to happen with James Gunn under the new guard?
I hope there is another season. I agree with you that this season is not the best. And it's weird that they're taking a break right now. Like, they're definitely not putting their best foot forward, and then they're taking a break. And I agree with Lexi in that the back end there's a lot of interesting things they can do with what they've laid out. But it's like to end, like, take this break when no one knows when they're coming back even.
Can we just stop doing that in all of television? Like,
I agree.
It's
breaks.
So stupid.
It's like you gotta wait like years for the second half of a season or something like that. It's like, what happened to just putting a season out? Right.
Like, isn't
so
that
when
what
you
a
break it
season
up, isn't that the end of that season and that the next one is another season? But they're like, no, it's like it's half of this and half of that, and it's like, oh my god, stop. It makes it hard to watch TV in this modern age, like by having them break it up so much and then having years between seasons, whereas
we want it now.
Yeah. Well, Bob's Burgers is a good example of like old school versus the new school, where every year you get a new season. So you always get 25 episodes a season. You follow that old school format. That's what you're expecting. So when you have a new show come along and it's like, oh, I love this show, and then you think the show's canceled, and then 2 years later you're like, hey, we're getting a new season of Venture Brothers, and you're just like, oh, okay, I thought that show was canceled or done. Like,
gone a long time ago.
Still working on it, yeah.
South Park's the same way. We were talking about South Park on here. It just keeps coming back, but they're good for like years now because of that multi-million-dollar deal. But it's like there's no consistency. Yeah, there's no consistency though when they're coming out and what's happening because they're doing so much, those guys, and on all these different networks. And at least you have consistency in some of Bob's Burgers. But this, like, even like the split up, I hate the split up stuff. I think it's dumb. But also I will say that maybe they're splitting it up too because they might be changing some stuff. Maybe they're doing some reshoots to make it so that they can have a better ending if this is going to be it before they announce it's done. That could be a possibility. Or it's just them being assholes like they like to be, and they're making us wait because we don't have commercials. We don't have a normal, television experience.
the whole industry is like this. It's not just the film industry, the game industry, all this stuff. You're going to put out an unfinished product and then go, here's part of it. Don't worry, we'll patch it later. And it's like,
Yeah.
don't put it out until you're confident and know that it's ready, so that we can sit down and we can be given a whole entire experience in one go without it having it broken up or broken in the experience itself. It's like, what's the point of putting out broken content? It's all a cash grab at that point. And when you
It
don't,
is.
I mean, there is a cash grab extent to viewership on the streaming service and stuff, but it's not even the same as the ratings system in the old television days. So it's like, who are you breaking these up for? Like, other than just, I don't know, like to keep people on your streaming service, to keep people paying for your streaming service? Is that like the thought process behind it, or whatever? Because I have a lot more respect for a streaming service that can give me a finished season than I do someone who keeps breaking things up.
But look at how they look at it. You're right. It's a business model. They go, well, if we, separate it, then people won't cancel. And if they don't know when it's coming back, maybe they'll just let it slip through the cracks for a while. And then when it comes back, that's right, Doom Patrol. That's great. I'll watch the end of it now. And then if you keep splitting it up, the content lasts longer. And the people do cancel. That's the thing. People do cancel when shows are done. So keep them attached. Keep them going. How about you just bring out more content and make the content all great, so I don't want to cancel my subscription? How about that, Netflix? So I'm just saying that's a problem that just keeps happening as it is. And hopefully Doom Patrol, a great show like this, gets a chance to keep thriving. I really hope that James Gunn comes in and helps them a little bit with their storylines and helps guide them in a direction and doesn't just cancel it, because I do think that the cast is great.
This seems like something James Gunn would make. Like, this seems like, if they didn't make the show, I feel like James Gunn would be sitting around going, well, I'm going to make that movie. Because
I'm gonna make that happen.
Suicide Squad, and Suicide Squad is very in the vein of Doom Patrol, just an obscure, weird group of anti-hero types doing unusual things that are not really connected to what the typical DC 5 are doing, the world-saving stuff.
Yeah. And I hope that James Gunn does then. I mean, we have a comment here, someone saying, Justin saying that he's working on a show that's been canceled mid-season and they had to rewrite and create a series finale. And that happens all the time, too. I worked on the show Wicked City. We were supposed to do 11 episodes. I've said this before. We were at episode 8, and they said, we're not getting shut down. You've seen the rumors online. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. The next day, they came back and said, okay, we're canceled. We're going to wrap it up in 3 days. And they redid some rewriting, and they finished the series. It happens. So this might happen with Doom Patrol. I hope not. Sabrina, you don't think that's going to happen, do you? Think that Doom Patrol will keep going? What do you think? What's your final verdict? I can't hear you. Live, everybody. I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think that they know it's canceled right now, honestly. I feel like that it would have leaked in some way, shape, or form, as instead of just this one post. Also in the storyline, Jane lost her longevity, and also Lexi, I strongly disagree with you. She is my favorite character on the show. Jane. I love her. I love her potty mouth. I love her piss poor attitude, and I love that she wants to kick the shit out of everybody. She is my hero, and I love her. I hate to disagree with you again, but I hate Cyborg. He is the weakest link in my opinion in that show. He is like, and now that he doesn't have his tech, he is even more the weakest link. I'm just like, for fuck's sake, why are you even here? Now he's sashaying around in a imaginary universe with his like best friend from when he was in college. Like, just stop, please. I can't. It's too much.
But Jane, I feel like, show.
I mean, I would not watch that if I'm being honest. But I think Jane and Cliff are the two best parts, and I love them. I mean, I love Larry too, and I love Rita, but I feel like Jane and Cliff are so crass and fuck it and let's do this. And I feel like they drive the show for me. And I was really upset when Niles died, because although he turned out to be a prick, I really, really enjoyed him on the show. So, I don't know. It's a lot of things has happened, but for it to be on its 4th season and to watch episodes like that have asses with teeth like running through and to actually be like, I want to watch another episode of this, like insane shit. That means that they did a good job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel, I hope they're not done. Let's put it that way. I hope they're not done.
Well, we'll see what happens with Doom Patrol again. Like we've said, James Gunn's in control. Maybe it'll change. Maybe they'll just rework it, or maybe this is it. And there's some truth to her tweet out there being like, "Goodbye, my beloved." Who knows? We'll find out as it continues. Of course, we'll wait until the second half of season 4 comes out. Then we'll probably know a little bit more about where they're going into season 5. But until they announce something with that, we have no idea. Leave some comments. Let us know. We're gonna move on to our next subject. So now we're gonna talk about Friday the 13th. As we've been talking about a little bit of horror movies before. So Friday the 13th, they're going to do a new movie, maybe, but there's going to be a new TV series. That's happening, everybody, which is interesting because we've always had movies. Well, apparently they're going to do a TV show on Peacock called Crystal Lake. That's right. The showrunner Brian Fuller says that this is happening. It's moving forward. They can use all the characters. They can use the names. They can use the mask. That's been a dilemma. Apparently, there's some legal issues there about the mask. And if they can use it or if they can't use it because it came into, like, I think movie 3, and this guy named Victor Miller bought the rights for the original stuff. So I don't know, there's some dilemmas there. So, but apparently he says we can use everything. We're doing this. Sean S. Cunningham, the director from the original movie, said because of all this noise with the TV show, he wants to go back and he wants to reboot the whole series as a theatrical version. I mean, this came out in 1980. So, I mean, maybe you can do both. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But here's what Brian Fuller had to say about the series in whole. Brian Fuller, who's creating the show.
I think over the course of the series, you will see many familiar manifestations of Jason, and calls the series a pre-remakeable. He promises that if the show makes it in 10 seasons, it will take us to space.
That's a little fun joke because, of course, Jason went to space.
That's great.
Just like the Fast and the Furious. Who's not going to space?
But Jason did it first. That's all I'm saying.
But actually, Pinhead did it first.
Yeah, Pinhead did it first.
So.
But it's interesting that they're going to do a show about this, right? Lex, let me start with you. What do you think about it being a show and not a theatrical version? Do you think this is a good idea? And you think it's a good idea to do both? Do a movie and do a show?
Absolutely, 100%.
Are you excited about this?
I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm not like a big Friday the 13th person, but the Evil Dead television show, masterpiece, fantastic. Probably one of the best things ever to come out with that entire series. Like, you got the first first 3 films, and then that show, and it's perfect. Chucky, amazing, one of the best shows I've ever seen, and like I've love the respect that the Chucky series has to all of the films. So the TV series, it's like if it happened in a film, it's going to come up in the series. And so I'm seeing this birth of them taking these 80s horror products, which instead of remaking them, which is like what everybody tries to do is remake them, you can never capture lightning in a bottle twice. You can't remake these films. Like, these films came from an era and had a success that came out of that era, but when they bring the original people back on in some form, like, I mean, with Chucky, they have Don Mancini's doing most of the show, so he's heavily involved in it. And they're just respectful to their own materials, and the people who make these shows seem to have a lot more respect to the materials than, say, like when Michael Bay in the Platinum Dunes era was remaking all of these, like, 80s era slashers and just not giving them the proper justice they deserve. I think a TV show is an interesting template for Friday the 13th as well. I think there's a lot around that. If you wanted to prequel it, you could spend a lot more time with the mother and the son. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Things that the movie, the original first film, miss and make feel weird when, you know, you get the rest of the series and it's the son coming out and whatever. So the show could do that whole filling in a lot of ways that a lot of the films lack and what have you. But I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it, but it doesn't mean that I have to see it to kind of. But with the way horror is going and with the way that they're treating these horror TV shows, everything I've seen so far has been better than any attempts at remakes, better than any, and great television on top of it. Like, not just like, oh, they're good if you're a fan of. I'm like, brilliant shows. Like, all of these shows are excellent, and they're very inclusive with what they try to do in them too, and they do it properly instead of just like trying to shoehorn LGBTQ characters in or giving us strong female characters or things like that. They're respectfully putting these characters in there and having proper flow and dynamic with how they portray them instead of just kind of like making, stereotypes. So it's nice to see that level of inclusion in those horror titles and seeing that these are the things that are coming along and being so respectful. And if you're a fan of any of these old 80s horror movies, these TV shows are the way to go. The remakes or any of like the more recent content from them, never the way to go. I'm not gonna put my all my chips in the barrel because you know me, I'm a bit of a cynic, but I'm gonna put faith. Peacock's been putting out some good content.
It has, and then Peacock's been doing actually much better. Like throughout the late years, it's been growing and growing and growing. It was one of those platforms where I'm like, if this actually lasts. But the idea of it, I think, is great. Taking it to TV, I think you're right. There's a lot they can branch out and learn from and actually flush out they can't in the movie. And then maybe that could lead to an actual movie. Maybe they can work together and we can go into a reboot of a movie through that. Right. Or maybe it can blend together somehow, Like
the Chucky series is setting itself up that if it wants to go into another Chucky film, the series is going to be able to give you all the groundwork that you need to go into a film that's going to give the fans what they want, which is just balls to the wall, body counts, that kind of stuff. Nobody's going into slasher-based things without wanting high-level body counts and things like that. We don't want serious dramatic story and all this kind of stuff. I mean, some people might. I'm here for that, but you don't go to these for low body counts and deep stories. That's that's a thriller. That's not a slasher. So you can lead these shows into having high body count, high effects, just balls to the wall films. And with Jason, I always like Jason because Jason is just so over the top as a character. I'm not a big slasher genre, that's not my thing. But of all of the big three, I definitely have a lot of respect for him as the Hulk in a mask type. He's always been my favorite Hulk in a mask. No Myers.
It's always Myers. Fun how he doesn't die. He just keeps getting up. He just keeps going. Michael Myers actually falls down for a while. Michael Myers, and as opposed to Jason's the unstoppable force. And of course, he's still alive every time.
And if you get Hodder on board in any way, if Hodder can come back in this in some form, everybody will be on board. Because Hodder that'd be fun. Jason.
That's the fun part. Maybe they can get him for a series. That's the fun part about a series too. You never know where they could go with it. Sabrina, What do you think about this? You hear about this Friday the 13th as a series and potentially a movie again as a rebooted movie. What do you think? Do you think the world needs this, or do you think this is done and they shouldn't do this anymore with Jason? Leave Jason in hell and that's it.
I generally do not like the movie to TV situation. I do agree with Lexi on Ash vs. the Evil Dead. That show is awesome. I did not watch the Chucky show, so I cannot speak to that. But with this having Sean Cunningham on board, and with the fact that it's being produced by A24, which has made pretty much every great movie you've seen this year, I feel like it's got a lot of potential, and it probably will be really good. I'm not a Jason girl. I'm actually a Michael Myers gal, if I was going to pick one of the big three. He's actually, I guess Freddy's my least favorite, but Jason's a very second, but way far down second. Michael Myers is my shit. So I'm not thrilled, but like I said, with having Sean Cunningham on board and A24, I think it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be one of those things that we'll have to check out. And I can't wait to see where they go with it because, again, like Lexi was saying, there's so much potential to flesh out a lot of storylines that we just can't do in a movie. That's just how it is,
Nightmare on Elm Street. It'd be great to have a great show. 100%.
Which one?
Nightmare on Elm Street? That's a good show there.
Oh, yeah.
That would be way
amazing.
More interesting in a lot of ways because there's so much more interesting things you can do with that. I've never understood why he gets classed as a slasher. Because he uses supernatural powers to do his stuff. I'm I feel like a slasher needs to. Well, you got knife fingers, but I'm I don't know. They don't. The other ones are just big dudes who just don't die.
His hands are slashing instruments. I mean, come on.
I'm not disagreeing. I just his powers are so higher than any other type of slasher. Yeah. So I'm I don't know.
Psychological.
And also, it's a psychological thriller for sure.
Right.
And the fact that you could actually build that up, that'd be fun, actually. You did different characters, you're following them, and all of a sudden you have the whole leading up to him getting into their dreams and slowly manipulating them and slowly getting there. It could be a good build-up for a series. It's pretty fast for a TV show if you think about it, how fast Freddy gets into people's dreams and that's it, You could really have some fun with it.
You could do
and
a
the
lot of
psychological
going
aspect.
back and looking at him before his transformation stuff too. You could spend some time with Robert Englund, and then we could have some time with Robert Englund, the actor, not just Robert Englund as Freddy, because Robert
Yeah.
Englund is an amazing actor. It doesn't matter what he's doing.
I think he'd come back too. I think he would. I mean,
would.
like, why not? Why not? You are Freddy at that point, right? And they could do a lot with that. They tried in that reboot where they had, was it Jackie? I can't think of his name. The guy who played Rorschach. He was Freddy, and they tried to do a little bit of backstory, but it wasn't enough.
He played Freddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He did the
Yeah,
I like that
Dunes
guy.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. Like, he's awesome, but just, it doesn't really work. Again, you don't have Robert there, and you need to have him. He's Freddy,
Right.
I don't know. It's like you see him, especially, you can do makeup and stuff, but the way he carries himself, the creepiness of it, he's done it for so long. It's special effects makeup. Why not just keep bringing him back?
Same with
Like,
Doug
it doesn't
Bradley.
really-
Like, he's
it
the only
doesn't
one
matter.
who play Pinhead. Like, he's my Pinhead. I didn't hate the new Pinhead either, but like he's always going to be Doug Bradley for me. Just that voice and that like presence and that ability. Some of these horror guys, like, they are just some of the best actors, and they need to maintain those roles in a lot of ways. It's hard to see those characters move on, which is why I don't believe in remaking. Just make a whole new franchise and give us a new person to love. Every generation deserves a horror franchise that belongs to them and is of their generation and that they can grow up with and wear t-shirts for and love forever. It doesn't have to be stuff from our generation.
I know, but that's what happens. Unfortunately, everyone just keeps reaching back to their childhood and be like, well, we can redo this. We can redo this. Think they'll remember this? It'll be great. But it doesn't even matter. It's stuff that people have just seen and they're still rebooting it. It's like, we just had a reboot of this. Why are we doing this again? They're going to reboot Jurassic Park again now. It's like, we just had 3 more movies.
No, they're not, really.
Oh, they're going to reboot that again. It's like, why are we rebooting this? Why? Why are we doing this? Like,
atrocious.
It was horrible. It was the worst. It was the freaking worst. And I love Jeff Goldblum. He's like, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But it's just not. It's just not. You wouldn't even have him fighting dinosaurs in that movie, really. It was more about like locusts
that
or
Dominion
something.
Was trash.
Yeah,
Terrible.
Locusts, you're right. I just watched it last night, so I'm just like, oh, that movie was terrible. I can talk about it.
Right? That's one of those things too, where that's like they just say it's too soon. It's just way too soon. Just let it be. And do we need it? Can we just do something else? Are there no original ideas anymore? Unfortunately, there aren't. It's like I feel like there's like a board up at every studio where it says like how many years it's been for all the big movies, and they slowly move it over. Like, now it's time. Oh, okay, it's been 2 years for that. We can move that over to the coming soon.
Like these things are original. Like, it's not like there weren't slashers in the 70s. Every era has a form of slasher. They make their own slashers for the era. I mean, it's literally, you just need to build some character who has something about him that's interesting enough that you want to watch him go around and kill people. And you have to make the kills interesting, and you have to have a reason for people to be there. And that's it. That's all you need. Making slasher films is like, I'm not saying it's bottom barrel, but it's really easy to just kind of whip these guys out. As long as you give us a fresh face, and you just need a person, a new presence. They need to have a good visual character, because what makes people draw to those horror characters are the visual concepts. The Jason mask, the Myers mask, Freddy and his burnt face and his glove. I'm like, they all have iconic, interesting things about them. It's all about making a really cool character that you want to spend time. It's the same with action movies. You get a really good action star and you just blow shit up for an hour and a half. That's all an action film needs to be.
That's all we want.
It's not like you need to remake Rambo. You need to give us a new Rambo that isn't Rambo, and give us a new action star that we want to follow. Because I don't want to see 65-year-old Stallone running around.
He keeps coming back though.
I think that the network, I think it's partially the studio's fault and the network's
100%.
fault. Like, if you show up with a new thing, they're gonna be like, oh, that's taking a chance. I don't know. And like, if you show up with an old thing that's retooled, they're like, well, that was successful in the first place, so let's take a chance on that. Like, it's so stupid, because like, look at Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's like not like anything else that anyone's ever done, and it is fucking killing it. So like, more studios should take a chance on something that isn't the norm, on something that's not recycled. But I feel
People
like a lot of the blame goes to them, because they're like, oh, I don't want to take a chance on this. I don't know. But then you come back with something that's already been done and was already successful, like Jurassic Park. And they're like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Not really taking into account that people don't need that shit anymore. Like, we're over it. Like, move on.
Right. The remake of Chucky was an opportunity to create a whole new franchise. They had an AI system, it was based around a robot, it had absolutely nothing to do with Child's Play. And they wrapped the skin of Chucky over the doll and called it Child's Play. So you set an expectation of people who are fans of the original series going in and getting a new film, and you took away a younger generation's ability to have a new character and go in. And so everybody goes into that film and walks out disappointed when there was a lot of potential sitting in that film waiting for somebody to come in and turn it into a new franchise that could have been exciting and fun and new, and I would have been 100% on board for. But you chose to go an alternate route with it and wrap it in the dressings of something from 40 years ago, and then wonder why it failed. It failed because you didn't let it be its own thing. It had all the potential to be its own thing and wasn't allowed to.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. That happens over and over and over again because we want to put it in this category. There the studio was. We gotta make it be like this and make it be like that. I just hope with Crystal Lake, that it's going to be a great show. It's going to kind of have its own thing. Of course, it can kind of pull off the past, but let it be original. Let it have fun. Let it show a different kind of story that we haven't gotten before, because that's what we need, some originality. And I mean, maybe you can use it with a little bit of the past. We'll see. We'll see what they do with this. But now we have to move on because we've been talking about this for a while. We have to move on to our featured story of the night. All right, everybody. So I wanted to talk about Aquaman, but we're going to save that for another day because we've gotten pretty late in the show. So wait till tomorrow to see that. We're going to talk about The Last of Us for a second. We're having a little open discussion about The Last of Us. If you've been watching, it's an HBOMAX show that came out based off the video game. And, you know, you got Pedro Pascal playing Joel. You got Bella Ramsey playing Ellie. You have a great cast. You have a great concept. You have a zombie show. Okay, but like, does it work? Does it work based off the video game to what they give out to us? Now, I feel like the casting is great. It looks like a lot of the people from the video games, they actually did a great job with that. Marlene especially, I was like, she looks just like her character from the game, which is amazing. One of the biggest things they did change, though, was that it's not airborne. The fungus isn't airborne, which makes more sense because the creator was saying, hey, we got to be able to have these actors walking around, show their face, show the emotions, and be able to have these conversations.
Pascal having to wear a mask again for a whole nother show, he would lose his shit.
He would be living. I bet he was like, I'm gonna tell you one thing, I'll do this.
Nope.
But no mask on this fucking face. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. So we've been watching this. So the first 2 episodes are out. The first one was like an hour and a half. The second one, they're down to an hour now. And me personally, I think it starts off way too slow. There's a lot that's happening there. It's like, you know, you're showing how we got there, of course. We're doing an hour and a half pilot. We want to give some backstory. To me, I think it's too much backstory, but it works. Then we get into the whole futures 20 years later. And I really think it works when they start getting into the real world and you start seeing the zombies and you start seeing them living in it. I just think it takes a while to get there. And I wish it was a little bit faster in the beginning. But overall, I'm enjoying the show. I just don't know. Does it work? That's the question. Sabrina, what do you think? Does it work? Or do you think it shouldn't have happened?
I mean, I like it. I like it so far. The second episode really pushed me to that. Like after the first episode, I was very weary. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go any further. But then I watched the second episode and I'm much more invested now. You're getting to know the characters a little bit more. The first episode was slow. I agree with Brian 100%. You know, like the beginning was like his backstory and the world's backstory, I guess, how they got to this point where it's like a sort of post-apocalyptic sort of situation. But it was very slow. And I was kind of like, who gives a shit? And then like the second episode really pushed it for me. It solidified a lot of things. And it also showed like, you know, who the characters are. Like, what's that girl's name? The blonde, his girlfriend, Tess?
Tess, yes.
Is the character's name. She's a badass. And the first episode, I was like, ugh, she's so annoying. And the second episode, I was like, fuck yeah, girl, kick some. Like, I really, really appreciated her. And she really good. She stole the episode, I think, in my opinion. And,
she's great.
You know, the little girl is snarky and in just the right way. You know,
Princess Leia.
Pedro Pascal is Pedro Pascal.
From Obi-Wan.
So, you know, there's that. I don't have a problem with him at all. So I think it works. I think it's only going to get better. I didn't play the video game, so I can't really draw a basis of comparison on that. But I think it's going to be a very successful show. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think it's going to go far. I think it will too if they keep up this momentum, keep up this production quality. I mean, we'll see. The second episode for sure, I think they really dove into it. Lexi, did you get a chance to watch this? And what do you think about The Last of Us? Do you think it works? And do you think it's entertaining? And how did you play the games at all?
No, I don't own a PlayStation. I was an Xbox person, so I
I never played the
any of
games either.
Yeah. My co-host, this is one of his favorite games. He's like super, super into it. So I have like that kind of fan knowledge a little bit from talking to him and stuff like that. He says the show's pretty respectful to the game, other than, as you stated, the airborne agent. Now, my thing is, if you know anything about funguses and spores, that's how they do function, is they spray spores into the air. So I kind of think that would be a lot more interesting, but as Sabrina stated, Pedro Pascal ain't doing any more things with a mask on. So I was like, this guy's whole career is just built around protecting some sort of child. Like all of this stuff is just,
they're like, you know, it'll be perfect for this.
Really?
I didn't think about that.
So it's just like, and then it's like if he had to wear a mask on top of it, it's like this whole guy's career is just wearing masks and protecting children. But
he's like, fuck that. I'm not doing that again.
He's actually an incredibly talented actor, and I thought he was excellent in the second Wonder Woman film. He was the best part of that entire movie.
I enjoyed him in that too.
I didn't realize that was him for so long, and I was like, wait a minute, that's fucking Mandalorian. What the shit?
I was like halfway through the movie before I realized it, and I was like, okay. But yeah, my friend was really excited about it, and I was like, it's not a bad concept. I'm like, I'm always here for zombies. I have a huge thing for zombies, but you got to do zombies right. They're always kind of difficult to do properly because zombies are not about zombies. It's like zombie stuff is about people. So the zombies are just a catalyst to the action kind of thing. So it's about a story about humanity, and it's about growth and understanding and those sorts of things, and you know, being broken and trying to fix yourself in a world that's so broken and those sorts of things. Those are all key focal parts of any sort of zombie lore. So the show's doing a good job of showing like how broken this guy is and how he's gotten to the levels that he's at and that kind of stuff. I don't think it's being disrespectful to the subject matter or anything like that. But as I said, I'm not familiar with the game, so all I can run off of is this show. And so at that juncture, even if the show does go off the rails, I'll never know.
Yeah.
I have no ability to see
won't either.
That. Right.
I'm the same boat.
I like what I see. And I think fungal zombies are always interesting. Like it's, I've seen the concept done in other games. Like it's not the only game I've seen it done before. I've never seen it done in film or television very much.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see a little bit of a switch up on the zombie lore. But it does seem like headshots take them down. Fairly typical zombie stuff, so they just have mushrooms on their heads and they're
I know.
zombies.
But then they have like the spores that come out of their mouth too, which is kind of creepy too, even after the fact they're dead. So it seems like it could still spread from a dead body as opposed to a normal zombie. You're dead, you know?
Right.
And then the fact they're kind of making it a little bit more, I was gonna say like Resident Evil a little bit, with the creatures kind of changing a little bit and manipulating and morphing into a new being is kind of interesting too. So we'll see where that goes. We're gonna say,
also in this, they make it so that the roots of the fungus are underneath the ground. So like
I like that.
There's like a connection to that. So like when they shot the guy in wherever the museum that they were in, everyone that was laying on the floor in the previous shot that we saw all woke up and came to attack because they knew, because they're all connected by this fungus.
Right.
And also they're like laying under the ground, and the way that they were woken up was like the roots came up out of the ground and went into their skin, and then they all got up and came and attacked. So that's also a really different take, like that, you know, they're all connected in a way. And I think that helps sell like, as opposed to doing an airborne thing, I think that helps sell the extreme contagiousness and the extreme connectedness to all of them and how dangerous it is. I think they sell it really well that way.
They're definitely a bigger challenge as a zombie, with that whole being able to do that kind of thing.
Just like stepping on it, and all of a sudden they all know, like a 5G network or something, like a network, you know, like as soon as they touch something, everyone starts running. That scene where all the zombies just like get up and start running towards the building because they stepped, that was cool. That kind of stuff is awesome.
they run, and I can't make a complaint about, like, because I don't like running zombies. Like, the body decomposes, so over time they won't be able to move quickly. But where it's got a root structure running through it, you don't know what it's doing and how it's manipulating the body. So it's trying to keep this and that alive, so I can accept the running and all that kind of stuff. I think too, like, switching up the zombie formula, this could potentially just be another Walking Dead, but
Yeah.
where it's got such a unique kind of structuring to the way the zombies go, you're more interested to see where it can go, whatever. But I do feel like fire would be an easy fix to taking these things out. Like, shouldn't be that hard to burn them. That's like, I mean, they're plants, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you start them on fire, and that's what they tried to bomb in the show too. They tried to bomb, which makes sense. That one scene where the girl was like, they're like, "What do we do? How do we stop them? Do we get a vaccine? Do we have medicine?" And she's like, "Bomb them all."
Yeah. I feel like they've already killed one of my favorite characters off in the second episode, though.
Oh,
so I was
yeah.
really enjoying the woman. I really liked her.
She's great.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
Anna Torv is her real name.
Yeah, Tess. She was so great. And then you knew as soon as like they had that exchange in the museum that something was wrong. Just the way she was like wrapping her ankle and she's so standoffish towards him, you could tell something's wrong. And of course, she was bit. So spoiler, everybody.
At least 4 episodes with her at least. Like, give me a little bit more time there, because she got killed off so quickly, and I was like, well, the character I was developing an attachment to is dead. So
it's gone.
Now I'm stuck with these two, and I'm like, I don't hate the girl or anything. She's fine. She's sassy. She works. I got no problems. Pedro Pascal's doing his job, but
yeah,
he's just a grumpy old man character. So.
He lost his daughter, so now he's gonna fight like being a father figure again, and take care of Baby Yoda.
That chip on his shoulder.
Ellie. Yeah.
The death of his daughter was done very well. I felt like that whole sequence was done very well. Like, the way that she went into shock when she was dying, and like every part of that was done really well. The drama was really strong there. So I'm hoping that they can kind of bring those moments back in, because once you get to the city, it just kind of gets like, I got a lot to take in. I'm going to be a while trying to really understand the dynamics of what's going on with these light keepers and all this kind of stuff. Like, there's a whole faction of stuff. There appears to be another government. That I don't know how this whole interior of this compound works. Why were they burning bodies? Why did they kill the kid? I guess the kid was infected. Like, I don't understand like things here and
there. They have the little device now.
Episodes. Yeah. But
that's a whole thing too. Just be killing people. The kid walks in, but you could tell like there was something messed up about that kid. You know, he had like Walking Dead Walker kind of vibes, like, So they just kill him. That's it. They don't have any kind of fear about that. They're just like, kill him, done. Even his friend, when his friend like had like try to bring him back into the base, that was insane too. That he just kills his friend. It's like, ooh, seeing red. But that's a different world. That's like post-apocalyptic. What do you do? How do you change? How do you act now? It's a whole different dynamic than we're used to in the real world. I hope it doesn't become like The Walking Dead, just because The Walking Dead for me was great, but I just feel like it went on too long and it went downhill. And they had so much potential, and they didn't take care of it. And now they're doing all these branch off shows where they got to go to Paris now and they're going to New York now. Like,
you don't.
Like, why don't we do that?
End a series by not completing any of the main characters' story arcs, and then end the series with these third-tier characters that we just got introduced to, and then tell us that I have to now watch 3 separate TV series to get conclusions to the characters who I have spent 11 seasons watching, which 11 seasons took, more than 15 years to put out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the patience for this, and I'm not going to invest in a lot of these. Like, obviously, I'm going to watch the one about Rick because I need closure. It's the only reason I'm going to watch it. I need closure on that character. I need closure on Michonne. I need closure on Daryl. Like, am I going to get those things? Like, what's the point of any of this? Like, it's not different series, but like, that's no way to end things. So, this series here, I'm hoping we don't go down that road. I have to say the sets in this show are gorgeous. Like, I know there's a lot of CGI stuff, but they do a lot better job of the destruction of the world in this one than Walking Dead does.
And then a lot of disaster movies even. Like I feel like the set design is just fantastic. They must have quite the team dressing these scenes, because I'm like I can't even imagine. There's like one scene they're walking through a bunch of cars, and the cars have vines and stuff all over them, and there's this big master shot of it, and it's like it looks phenomenal. It really does look great. Sometimes the CG for me, it could be a little better, but you know, I'm just picky about that sometimes. Sometimes.
Do you think that they film some of this stuff in location and then put plants and stuff over it, or do you think that they just CG all the plants and everything in? Because I was like, there was the moment when they first leave in the second episode and they're walking down that highway overpass. I was like, it looks like an overpass, and it looks like they put vines and stuff all over the overpass, but then you can very much tell like the outside surrounding city is VFX. So
yes,
did they like take a chunk of highway and shut it down? And are they even shooting this in Boston? Like, are they shooting this entirely?
That's the thing. It could be on stage too. It really could be. Some of the stuff they can do is insane. It did seem for that scene that they were walking across some bridge, so maybe they did do a lockdown. I feel like they must do a mix of practical and visual effects. There has to be some
I don't know
of that.
about the wides like that, man.
Those wides sometimes.
I don't know about that, but the like when they were close walking down the street and all the cars were wrapped in vines and stuff, I think that was all practical and real for sure. But like the backgrounds are definitely visibly CG. But like, the bridge did feel real, but for some reason, I feel like the wide shot of it was not real. Honestly. But
that's what I'm saying.
You know, when you got in there, it did look very real. I'll tell you what. Whoever's the on-set dresser, his name is being called every 6 seconds on that show. He probably wants to kill himself, or she, because that is some like, we need another leaf here, we need more crap here, we need more vines here. Like, I can't even imagine the set dressing on that. It's insane.
I'm really good at determining my VFX and my practical usually. Like, I can always find the lines because I've been doing it so long, but this show I'm having a hard time finding those lines, and I'm like, good. That's what I need in my life. Please.
For a big budget show like this, it should be like that.
Right.
There are some times where I'm like, I can tell like a whole building is visual effects. You know, I'm like, but everything around it seems real. So I think it is great. It's a good mixture of it. The fact they're trying to do that and not just doing it on a soundstage, the whole thing, that would be great, because that's what I hope they're doing. And it seems like that. It really does. I mean, just get in the real world and show us something, you know, it goes a long way. You don't have to do everything in visual effects world. But a lot of movies do, and a lot of shows do. Yeah, the museum, that was all real.
Yeah, that was all. Yeah. And it looks great. And like there was some of those buildings they're in and stuff. That all is very real and done really well. It's got some great sets. I know what the interior of the game looks like. Like, I know visually what the games looks like, and this is perfect to the game. Like, from what I've seen and what have you, like, it looks exactly like the way that the game looks. So that, at least, if you're a fan of the game, they should be covering your world pretty well.
Yeah, from what I've seen too, it seems like that, down from costume design to the set design, it seems like they're really on. They're trying to make you really feel like you're playing the game and you're watching these characters come to life for the fanboys, for the gamers, for, you know, the actual people just watching at home that have never seen anything. I think they're doing a great job. So we'll see where the show goes. I'm really excited to see it. I was kind of back and forth, like I said in the first episode, but now I'm on board. So hopefully they keep going strong, and there's more characters like Tess that show up, because she will be lost. She'll be missed in this whole series. But they led that you believe that too, because they showed the two of them in the trailers and stuff, primarily. So Tess wasn't even there, so I kind of knew she was going to die eventually. So I don't know. What's everybody think about The Last of Us? That's the question. Now streaming on HBO Max. We'll keep you updated as this goes along, and we'll keep talking about it as the show develops. And we're excited to keep going. But anyways, we've come to that time of the show where we got to say goodbye, everybody. Lexi, I want you to just have one more moment, talk about your podcast, just do your final pitch to the whole Kruse Control Nation.
So, every Friday, Cinema D'Amour, new episode comes out. Please tune in. Like I said, next month is YouTubers, and then after that, we're doing movies about food. So this year's a lot more form in that. Then if you want to check out my old podcast with Jacob, that would be the Three Deemers. It's 3DEEMERS. There are no new episodes of that have come out since we finished with it, but if you want to go back, there's a wonderful archive of those, and there's a lot that I had to say on that show, so I got a lot of my thoughts out there. If you want to see my bad art, go to Iconoclast, ICONOKLAST, on Instagram. That's where I keep my photography that I do and my weird paintings I've been doing recently. And if you want to see how adorable I am, you can go to my Instagram, Polly_Esther, and that's where I put my cute pictures of me.
Yeah, everybody check it out. Check out all Lexi's links. You can see them on the screen right now. Find her everywhere. Subscribe, like all of her stuff. We're so happy to have her here on Kruse Control talking with us again tonight. Thank you, Lexi, so much. We appreciate you. Hopefully have you back again sometime. Hopefully sometime soon. Thank you for being here. We had a great time having you. Sabrina, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Thank you everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe if you can. Join our Patreon. We really appreciate it. Find us on all those audio platforms, from Audible all the way to Spotify. Thank you so much for being here on Kruse Control. We appreciate you as always. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. See ya!